James Crystal, how are you?
Hello, buddy. Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, brother, as we say, as we talk
All
to
right,
each other.
brother. Love it.
It gives me a different interview style when I've got to try and become, I'll use some words that you won't even recognize, which is hip and trendy and cool. Does that take, do you accept me now?
I fully look up to you, man. I think you're cool. I think you're cool. Definitely. No, thanks for having me, bro. I really do appreciate it, and it's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. It always is.
Do you know what? So the pleasure's ours because your story and everything else gives us a unique take on, well, every story is different, but you tell yours in such a way. You're very humble. I know from speaking to you. Will anyone be interested in my story? Yes, is the answer. There's a lot of people that's interested in your story because it's so interesting and because the depths that you've been to. But you know, we linked on LinkedIn, and it's because of the way that you've reacted to the situation and the thought pattern behind wanting to help others and inspire. And at Wellity, we want to normalize the conversation around mental health. And that means we accept the language and accept everyone who is talking about it, whatever words they want to use, because that's how they're seeing it through your eyes. So the
Yeah.
pleasure's all ours.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Right. So, you know, we've had some conversations. I've seen your brand. I've seen what you're trying to do in terms of prioritizing people's mental health. But let's talk about you. So, who are you, James? Where have you been? What's happening?
I've been on a crazy journey, man. I've been on a crazy journey. I don't know. I was brought up by amazing parents, but I think I guess it started my kind of journey with mental health. I guess started with when I was about 15. I was diagnosed with ADHD, um, and it beat the previous naughty boy label that I'd been given. So it's quite a welcome diagnosis. I guess that's where it started. Started getting in a bit of trouble at school, bit of Jack the lad, and yeah, I guess that's where I started kind of falling apart a little bit. I guess.
And
um,
how did ADHD personify itself with you?
I just struggled with authority when I was young, and I used to crave. I don't know if I craved the attention, but I loved getting into trouble. Like there was something very exciting about it at school. Like not doing like major things, but being sent out of class was, I quite enjoyed it. It was fun and it was exciting. It was a bit of adrenaline and but then on the other side, I just couldn't sit still. And even now, I move about a little bit, but yeah, my attention span was very small and yeah, I guess that's probably about it, really. Just used to get me in quite a lot of trouble.
So is it like a state of restlessness then? Now I know in my family we have a couple of relations with ADHD, and so I'm interested in the sort of symptoms of it and the reality of it. We normalize the conversation around this. So talk as frankly as you want. What is it? Is it an over racing thought pattern, or is it like attention because you like that bit about being chucked out and maybe people looking at you and stuff? Is it you're always on the go? What is it?
I really don't know. I've never like looked too much into it, but yeah, I think it's that like your mind's kind of going at a million miles an hour all the time, always kind of looking for the next bit of excitement or whatever it is, and just struggling to concentrate on one thing at a time, and especially in school, listening to these teachers just ramble on about geography or whatever it was, and I didn't want to sit and listen to that. Like I just struggled to just comprehend and kind of take it all in, and I guess that was yeah, that's just who I was.
Yeah, it's how you're built, isn't it? And no one's got any right really to say what you should and shouldn't be doing, because you're doing what is naturally, physiologically telling you to do. And if you're not interested in something, you're not interested in something. So, what were you interested in? So where did your curiosity take you? What really did light you up?
Uh, I mean, I don't know. now that I think now I wouldn't say I have ADHD, but now I like to like jump out of planes, skydive, and kind of do just crazy stuff like that. And that's kind of my way of, that's my excitement, And I do like skydive, raise load of money for charity, and that's great. I think when I was younger, it was more just, I think just kind of misbehaving really. And I used to smoke a bit of weed when I was younger, and it was quite interesting to hear when I got diagnosed, to hear that the psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, say, well, actually, you've been self-medicating effectively with the weed for the last 12 months or however long it was.
Well, a lot of people with mental health issues throughout their whole life self-medicate. I mean, that's what you see with alcohol and drugs or any sort of addiction, is that so I presume that's what you were doing then. Are you one of these people with a really cool Instagram account then, if you're chucking yourself off out of aeroplanes and everything? Does it look quite cool?
Not really. No, I'm not like prolific on Instagram or anything. No, not really. But there are a few pictures. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get myself on that after. So you were 15. You had ADHD. You were smoking a bit of cannabis. Was life trying to nudge you down the wrong track then? Were you aware of that at the time?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Yeah. I was kicked out of school like shortly after being diagnosed with ADHD, permanently excluded after multiple, suspensions. And it was very shortly after that I was just surrounding myself with the wrong, negative influences on my life, I guess. It was shortly after that I was then sexually abused by an older man, and I was drugged and I was kidnapped and sexually abused. And I guess my lifestyle, it wasn't terrible, but I was just a kid having a bit of fun, and it kind of I guess it led to that, and then led me down a very dark road, for a while.
Yeah, and before we just go down that road, I just want to see where your sort of state was at the start. What was your family like at the time? How were you rooted?
Amazing. My family is incredible. My parents are the best parents in the world, and like one of the main reasons that I'm still alive today. My mum and dad have stood by me through thick and thin, and they are incredible. I've got to take my hats off to them. They're the best. So yeah, I'm extremely fortunate. I've got an amazing family. I really have.
That's really good to hear, mate. That's really good to hear, because everyone needs someone, don't they? Otherwise, you've just got this flipping inner critic that's telling you all this, full of self-doubt.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, well, good on them. Good on them. And they'll be aware of that as well. Now, look, you're about to go down this dark road. Did anything happen before the event we're about to speak about, or did this just completely come into your life? Was this person part of your gang that you were with? Was this person known to you? How did everything unfold? Yeah,
we would we'd go out kind of like having some drinks and smoking some weed and kind of partying, and a group of lads, and we were all around the same age. And then there was just this older guy that was always kind of just there and kind of with us. And it was. I didn't think it was that weird start, but I think we were all a bit enchanted by him. He had money and he had, he definitely, power. And I think he just used that to kind of suck us all in, really. And it was just this kind of lifestyle. We were very young, and seeing his cars and, money and lifestyle, I think it was, like I say, quite enchanting. And then we started hearing rumors on the kind of grapevine that he was gay, and then we kind of heard rumors that he was sexually involved with one of the other people in our kind of circle, and it just kind of got very weird from there. And just I remember something on occasions just kind of not being with it, we'd be drinking and then all of a sudden I'd just not be with it at all, and I'd wake up and I'm in his car, and you know, it's just, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know who's watching, but you know, it was just a string of like unfortunate but just very, very strange events. And I remember one time he came to where I was living, and I got in the car with him and his nephew, and like he was saying I owed him money, like it was all just very bizarre, and he was like threatening my family. So anyway, I went and met him, and they just took me to a graveyard, drove me off down some country lane to a graveyard, and he just told his nephew to beat me up, and he just stood over me and just watched as he beat me up. And yeah, I mean, it was shit, you know, it was really shit. And you know, this is after he's already, you know, he's already abused me, and now he's trying to kind of instill this just fear into me, I guess, you know. And it absolutely worked. I was absolutely terrified. And the worst thing is, I think, you know, I probably could have beaten his nephew up, like I could have, but like I couldn't. I just physically couldn't fight back. I was that scared, and he was standing over, and you know, I'm on the floor. His nephew's beating me, and he's just standing there. And you know, he was what, 40 something. I was like 15, and you know, I just knew, you know, if I had, you know, punched him, God knows what would have happened, you know. And you know, he always had weapons in his car, and you know, he was very well connected in kind of underworld, and it was just a very, very scary time. He threw a brick through my parents' house, through my parents' window, like threatening, you know, to tell my family, you know, like threatening my family if I was to say anything and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it was just like a pretty horrible experience. I mean, there's more I could talk about, but I don't really want to, you know, go into anything too graphic. But yeah, it was just a shit time, you know, and I was kind of naive and just, I don't know. I think I was just very much sucked into that kind of life, and maybe just, you know, thought that it was, you know, normal. I don't really know. I know I was smoking a lot of weed to kind of, I just kind of like numb what was going on. And how did it stop? Oh, he ended up going to prison for something else unrelated, some violent crime, and that was kind of how it stopped. And
there's a few things there. One, obviously, it makes my blood boil listening to any story like that, because I've got children the same age. You are as grown up as you think you are at the time. You are a child. You know, in the letter of the law, you're a child. So for an adult to do that, you have to deal with your perceived blame that you apportion to yourself for, oh, well, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing that. Whereas adults just go, you were a child. You were a child, he was an adult. It's completely unacceptable on many, many, many levels. And unfortunately, now you have to take that burden with you, or however we're going to come on to how you deal with it. But it's completely unacceptable. It sounds frightening. It sounds physically horrible. And you say that you were enchanted and all this other stuff by what he was doing. I mean, other people watching that would be to say that was almost grooming and predatory, because whilst you didn't know the situation that you were getting into, the adults certainly had enough life experience to be able to know exactly what they were doing to you. So I almost become parental to you at this point, not in literal terms, but in terms of my responsibility to say, this is not about you, this is about him. But unfortunately now you've got to take this through. And the fact that you say that you've got far more to say, but it was graphic and everything else, leads me to at least imagine the extent to what happened with this predatory man, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I think, mate, you hit the nail on the head, actually, because I think, yeah, I thought that I was like all grown up, and I thought that, you know, I was an adult, and you know, I just, you know, wanted to, you know, think I was in control, and actually, like you say, yeah, I wasn't, you know, and I was, you know, young man, very young man, you know, young teenager as well, and I think I was just full of like shame and also embarrassment, and just wishing that I'd been strong enough. And I was just kicking myself for a long time, just wishing that I'd kind of tried to fight him, like, you know, and yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. There's just there was a lot of shame and a lot of kind of embarrassment that I had to hold on to for a long time, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to live with that. I bet, you know, looking back, you'd rather been punched 10 times straight in the face than have to live with the shame and everything else. The perceived shame, by the way, because the shame should be 100% on that man, and anyone who of his associates. They should be burdened by that, not you.
But he ended up being sent to prison for an unrelated something unrelated, and that was kind of how it ended. No, I don't. That wasn't even the last time in the graveyard. Yeah, it was just all really crazy. Like, there was just so many different things like happened, and yeah, it all ended. You know, like I say, fortunately, he went to prison. You know, and then we were, you know, kind of rid of him. And but I knew, you know, there were other people, there were other of my, you know, kind of friends and associates at the time that I knew had been through the same thing that I'd been through, you know, but no one ever spoke about it. You know, it was just really tough. That's you know, where it ended, and then you know, and then it was kind of went into survival mode from there.
How did it feel when he was sent down?
I was just massively relieved, you know, and he'd like extorted money out of my parents as well, and like he was just a wrong one. And yeah, I mean, I was massively relieved that I was kind of rid of him and his kind of control, you know, that he had over my life. Yeah, it was just massive relief.
And what goes through someone's mind when someone does get sent down like that? You have elation that they're away from you, and the sense of panic hopefully dissipates over time. But is there any anxiety about coming out and reliving, refacing when the term's finished?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it definitely was. There was one point some years later, actually, when I was extremely suicidal, and I'd left where I was living, and my partner had rang my parents and told them that, you know, how bad things had gotten, and they'd then rang the police, and the police had come, and they'd found me, and this police officer, I think his name was PC Chandler, he'd arrested me quite a few times when I was young, and, you know, we'd kind of played cat and mouse, you know, for quite a long time, cops and robbers, and you know, he just said, "What's happened?" He said, "What happened to you?" He said, "You know, you were a naughty young boy, you know, but and he said, now, you know, you're a complete shell of a man." He said, "You know, you're completely different." He said, "What has happened?" And I actually ended up telling him. I kind of told him what had happened, and he said to me, "Was it?" And he said the man's name, and I was completely shocked. And he said, "Yeah, you know, we've been trying to, you know, get enough evidence on him for quite a while. You know, we stopped and searched him and found, you know, all this kind of material in the back of his boots, and that actually gave me quite a, like, I felt quite safe after knowing that. You know, it felt like, you know, I wasn't completely alone, and actually other people kind of that cared knew what had happened. You know.
So here's the thing with guilt and shame and everything else, is that, you know, that itself is like a bully, and shame gets stronger in silence. So it relies on you not telling anyone, and it relies to have control over you. The minute, like with any bully, you know, a bully keeps saying, "Keep this between us. This is our secret. You tell anyone and I'll do you in." The minute you tell people, they lose their superpowers, because that is the only thing that they've got against you. So it's a sense of relief for you, because you always think that it's going to be this terrible reaction, where actually it's just not about the reaction. It's about how you feel, offloading that and sharing it, you know, problem shared and all that. And the reaction that you got was one of sympathy, empathy, and right, we're on your side, and yeah, it's this guy, not you.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were a young lad at the time, and you started that process of speaking to people and letting it out. So that must have felt almost like What made you feel better?
No, I didn't tell anyone, mate, for quite some years. But I mean, apart from that incident and my partner knowing, and then my partner told my mum and dad, that there was probably only a handful of people that knew. Um, I was quite shocked that I'd even told that policeman. So no, that process of speaking about it didn't happen for, until recently, quite recently actually.
Well, this is very
And my
brave
way,
of you, because what happened to make you talk about it then?
I tried everything else. Like, I tried so many different ways of dealing with what I'd been through, and it, I think better to get to that in a moment, that how I managed to start speaking about it. But after what had happened, it was just really abusing drugs on another level, and that was how I tried to deal with it, as a teenager. Um, just abusing drugs and drinking and all these different vices, and the drugs get harder, and you start using stronger and stronger drugs, and um, it was probably about 7 or 8 years before I got to a place where actually I could deal with what had happened, and process what had happened. um,
If it
yeah.
helps, if it helps, you're not alone, because we've interviewed a lot of people who have suffered either childhood trauma or other traumas throughout their life, and it's lovely to be able to tell you, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, that's what happens. There's a period of, you need to do stuff to protect yourself, whether it's to get rid of out your mind, to get rid of the anxieties. You just don't want to think about it. You want to box it off. You want to bury it. Now that you're talking about it, you get to hear people like me, and I'm sure many others, go, that's all right. That is normal what you've done. That's how many others have done it as well. And you can't go back in time. So that's what happened. And your journey is fairly normal, because up until that point, your journey hasn't been normal, has it? Because of all the other stuff that's happened to you. But it has, because you found ways in which to not address the situation. And it was a horrific situation. It was a horrific event that happened to you. Don't ever underestimate the strength and the impact that have. No child should ever be subjected to that. So your actions after that are just, in terms of well-being, that's just where it took you.
Mm.
And what we're interested in at Wellity is the point of when it goes down, 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 you're almost in free fall, nothing to do with your aeroplane jumps, but you're in free fall. Where is the point where you've hit bottom? Where was the point where you think, or maybe that you've come off the ground? Where's that? Because a lot of people listening to this will be going down at the moment, and they're wondering, they want to hear it from you that there is a recovery.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it was 6 years later, and 6 years of just abusing drugs every single day, and having some extremely bad addictions, committing crimes, and all sorts of selling drugs, and sort of robbing people and trying to just feed my habit. That was a very very, very low point. And then I actually got arrested, and I was sent down. So I was sent to prison. And yeah, I think that was probably like the lowest, or one of the lowest points, in my life for me. In every way, mentally, emotionally, physically. And yeah, it was crazy. 'Cause, ever since the abuse, I just, like I said, just being, just stoned out of my nut basically, or completely drunk. And so I kind of got arrested and woke up, in a prison cell, and it was like, I can only say it was like waking up, after a 6-7 year long nightmare, only to realize that it wasn't a nightmare, and actually this was reality. And that was when it really hit me, that everything that had happened in that space of time, and where I was, and that was when I really had to start processing everything that had happened. And I no longer had vices, to take the pain away. And you know, I was just alone with my thoughts, you know, in a cell. And yeah, that was just extremely hard.
I imagine there's a terrible bit, the realization once it all wears off, because that was covering it all before all the drugs and everything else. As an adult listening to this, I'm thinking, in a way, and I don't know what your reaction is going to be to this, but in a way that saved you, because
definitely,
if someone hadn't hoiked you around the ear and got you into there, which, you know, let's face it, what you were doing was wrong. It was criminal. It's not good.
100%, yeah.
So, you know, heaven forbid that had gone on, even just the drug consumption, even just whatever else, maybe you would have hurt someone else. But that point, was that a hard stop for you then?
Oh mate, look, do you know what? I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted that I'd been nicked, obviously, and that I wouldn't be able to go out and party, you know, anymore. I was gutted, but yeah, looking back, mate, I'm massively grateful that happened, you know, and you know, all the, you know, the crimes that, you know, I committed, that, you know, I regret, you know, I really do regret, and you know, I wish that I could change that, and you know, I'm massively sorry for that, but you know, I am, you know, very glad that I was, you know, arrested and put away, you know, because I don't think I'd be alive today, and you know, like you say, I could have hurt other people as well along the way. So yeah, no, that was a massive turning point in my life. Yeah, definitely.
And how did it affect those around you? So I imagine your parents, who you're very close to, were watching you go down this downward spiral and were getting out of control with actually how much influence they had over you, because you had all these external influences through narcotics and friendship and social groups and everything else that were actually taking them away from you. So in a sense, that moment, they almost got you back in a way, because of your consciousness. You were able to talk to them. How did they react when they found out? Were they your first phone call to say, I've been arrested?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd imagine it was my dad. Yeah. Yeah, I think they were probably quite relieved as well, like, if I'm honest, because you know, they knew what was going on. You know, even if I didn't want to, you know, talk about it openly, you know, they knew. And yeah, everything had just got out of control, mate, completely out of control. And you know, it was for my own good, and you know, the interest of everyone else as well, that I was put away. So I think my mum and dad were pretty relieved, to be honest.
Yeah, and hindsight's the only perfect science, isn't it? Looking back, we can all be right. We can all know we can all know the lottery numbers the week after.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You weren't to know at the time. So did that set off a series of events then? So obviously you couldn't do anything while you were in the cell. And then what, did you go straight to court and straight down from there?
Yeah, I was on remand for like I don't even know, about 5-6 months. And then I went to court, went guilty, and they sent me down. So I'd already done some of my time on remand, so I think I had about a year left to do.
Were you clean on that in that period, or were you? I don't know.
In jail?
No, in the period where you were on remand before you.
No, I was on remand. I was on remand in prison. So.
Right. Oh, I see. You went straight down.
Yeah, no, I went straight away, mate. But yeah, on remand is basically just awaiting appearance in court, you know, in prison.
Right. Okay. And how did you feel when you'd done that? I mean, obviously, well, I'd say obviously, I don't know what goes on. I mean, what's that first night like when you've suddenly, I presume, sober, and you're in that environment where everything has been stripped from you? What is that realization like?
Oh, stone cold, mate. Really, like I was in like an old Victorian, like I think the second oldest like prison in the UK. Like it was horrible. So I just remember being stone cold, partly due to the withdrawals, and just extremely sick, and yeah, just I don't know. I think part of me just not wanting to believe, you know, the situation that I was in, and kind of thinking actually, you know, I'm going to wake up in a couple of days and this will all be a nightmare, sort of thing. Yeah, and then just having to, you know, try and kind of fit in with my surroundings, I guess, a little bit. You know, and just, you know, it's survival of the fittest in there at the end of the day, isn't it? So yeah, I don't know, man. Like it was horrible. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But I think after like the kind of first month, um, you know, after I kind of got all the drugs out of my system and I was able to like think straight and, you know, start to kind of exercise and train and actually kind of, you know, function properly. I think that then, you know, then I started to really grow up, you know, and start to kind of man up. Not necessarily, yeah, I just started to kind of man up because obviously for so long, since basically since the abuse, I hadn't thought about really anything, you know, especially definitely not maturely. And I don't, you know, I don't say man up as in like just be strong. I just mean like just grow up. I mean like develop. You know, like that 6 years, you know, there was zero development going on there. Maybe a bit of facial hair and whatever else, but when I say man up, I mean like grow, like
Develop.
Yeah,
Mature.
I don't mean yeah.
That comes clearly across. That comes clearly across that you then start to give yourself accountability, and it lays on your shoulders. You're becoming a man in terms of age and everything else. So
yeah, exactly.
You're developing that side to you. No, that was clear. But look, we won't delve too much around the time in prison, apart from to ask, where did it take you with your mental health?
Yeah. No, it was pretty bad, to be honest. Like, I was diagnosed with PTSD and depression. No, yeah, it was pretty bad, to be honest, mate. Like I was extremely depressed, and you know, the PTSD was, you know, horrible, and you know, nightmares and kind of flashbacks and all that sort of stuff. But I was put on quite a lot of medication, you know, which definitely has its benefits. Definitely has it, you know, definitely has its, you know, uses. I think, you know, another conversation could be had around that. But yeah, I was put on medication, and I think it served its purpose. Definitely helped me for a while.
Do you have any recollection of a worst day inside?
Probably just the first day, mate. To be honest, like it did just get better after that. Like really, like in truth. Because I was, even though I was, you know, seriously depressed, and you know the PTSD had kicked in, and having to deal with everything that had happened and process everything, you know, I think I was actually still in a better place than I was before, when, you know, I was completely drugged out of my face and didn't know where I was or what was going on, and was in complete denial, you know, about what had happened, and even the fact that I was addicted to drugs. So yeah, I'd say the first day, mate.
So I liken this. I don't know anything about being in prison, but I liken the state of your mental health to being very much like, I keep saying it, but it's my thing. It's like a snow globe that you used to have at your grandma's house at Christmas, and you used to shake it, and all the snow would go everywhere, and this little ornamental thing. And it's like that when you were on drugs, or when someone suffers from anxiety, when someone suffers from panic and everything else. It's like you're frantically shaking that. And only when you put it down and rest it, give it time, does it all calm down, and you can actually see what's in the middle, and then you can come to terms and address and diagnose and work your way and plan yourself forward. So was that time when you were inside, did it give you time for everything to settle, and then you actually saw what you'd been doing? Or you may have thought why you'd been doing it, and then did you turn to anger, for example, against this guy that had done what he'd done to you? What were your emotions once the snow had settled?
I just want to say I love that analogy, Simon. Absolutely love that, mate. I nearly called you Keith then.
Yeah, for the record, he's referring to Keith Lemon, which he finds extremely funny to say that I look like.
Sorry, mate. Sorry to do that on your channel.
I don't see the likeness, to be honest.
Look at the previous pictures, guys.
Yeah. I'll edit in something now. I'll put a photo of him. I won't. But yeah, he's a legend. I love him.
Yeah, I love him. Good guy,
Keith,
man.
if you're watching, come on.
Get involved. Yeah, I love that analogy. Yeah, no, definitely, mate, 100%. Because it's like my whole brain thinking that everything had been clouded, hadn't it? So, and then reality kind of, you know, kicks in, and you have to deal with, you know, the pain, the trauma, but also deal with, you know, all the things that you've done, the people that you've hurt, you know, along the way. You know, my family being the people that I probably hurt the most. you know, yeah, it was just tough, man. Just really tough. Just getting to grips with everything. Yeah, especially being in prison. There's not a huge amount you can do to take your kind of mind off of it, is there?
And so with that mind, with the power of the mind and the inner critic, which a lot of people have their inner critic even without going to having prison. But I mean, were you gentle on your own self? Were you saying like, okay, let's plan a way forward, let's get ourselves through? Or were you really harshly critical and God, I can't believe you've done this, you're crap, you're this, you're that, you deserve it? Where was your state? Because only when that starts to become slightly more gentle can you ever work your way out of it. And I agree with what you were saying about developing as a man. You're starting to think, shit, crap, right, I did that, and that, I hurt that, and that. So maybe this needs to be addressed when I get out. Where did your mind shift start to get more positive?
No, do you know what? It was there was some low point. Like I was like burning my arm, like at one point with like a lighter, and I was like lighting the lighter, like getting it really hot, and then just burning, just non-stop. My arm was just like completely scabbed up. And then there was another point I've got moved about quite a bit. And yeah, I was in one prison and I was just like extremely suicidal, and I'd actually made like a noose. I tied it to the light, and then an officer had come and he'd kind of looked through the door around the same, like just basically at the exact same time, and they all come in, bust the door, a load of them, and then just put me on suicide watch. So no, I think that was a pretty low point actually for me.
Had they not come in, James, would you have carried that act through?
I honestly don't know. I think the only thing that was really stopping me was my family, you know, and the fact I knew how much my mum loved me, and you know, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would. But I'm grateful for, the prison service for, they were very helpful, and I think it was after that really that I started to kind of come up, I guess.
Well, I'd say if you're ever looking for a poignant moment that is possibly your lowest, it was that. We talk to a lot of people who have either been on the brink of suicide or, heaven forbid, those that tragically lost loved ones, in a bid to really show people what the aftermath of suicide is, to everyone, to the ripple effect of friends and family, and it's absolutely devastating. So look, you're still here, and that didn't happen, and so that obviously is, I say obviously, but that presumably was the lowest point. And then as you were starting to realize that you were coming out of jail, were there temptations to think, yeah, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go party, I'm going to be let off the leash? I mean, they would have, I don't know, been natural ways of thinking, or were you, thank God that happened, I'm on the straight now?
Yeah, no, I think there was a bit of both. They put me in like I said, when I came out, I should say, like I moved away from where I was living to kind of get a fresh start and be closer to family, because my parents had moved just around the same time as the abuse. Actually, my dad had retired, but yeah, so I moved away, fresh start, and yeah. Oh, sorry, what's the question, mate?
Well, was it tempting to think the doors are opening? I can either go left into my see the gangs again and go and bury myself in whatever narcotics and partying and vices you want, or I am no way getting involved, going left, I'm turning right and I'm running as fast as I can.
No, sorry, mate. Yeah, no, I think there was definitely that temptation. I was placed in a sort of like rehab sort of house when I was released to start with. So I was being like tested, for like drugs and alcohol every day, and yeah, they ended up being kicked out of there because there were like some pretty strict curfews, and wasn't really keeping to them. And then after that, I did start drinking again a little bit. I don't think it got out of control like before, but yeah, again it was like drinking until I passed out. Not every day, but still it was just a bit out of control.
Yeah. When did that stop then?
So like the big change, like in my life, obviously for me, like I said, came when I found a church community, a community of people who, just didn't see me for, my shattered past. They saw, a bright future for me, and just loved me, cared me, championed me. And yeah, just super non-judgmental, and just encouraged me, and I think that was massive to have people around me who actually, positive influences on my life, wise people who, just wanted the best for me. So that was probably, one of the big turning points. But then, even after that, I was like sleeping 18 hours a day at one point, and this is probably another of my lowest points, actually. I was just super depressed, on all this medication, and I just was not happy at all, and I would just take too much medication. I'd have more than I've been prescribed, and I don't think I really wanted to be alive, but I also didn't want to kill myself, and so I just thought, well, I'm just going to sleep. So I slept and I slept and I slept. There were times when I'd be just curled up in a ball for, days on end without, eating, barely any water. Just super, just so unhappy, just in agonizing pain from not eating, and, just completely lacking motivation. I had very, very little hope, if any. I wasn't answering the phone to family members, or friends. And yeah, I was just in a I was in a terrible place. I was extremely depressed.
There's a couple of things that I've noticed from what you said, is that the thing that sort of nudged you out of it, and because you're on the sort of days and something boots you out, you suddenly see another part of it, was that non-judgmental bit from the church. So it's the bit where you're perhaps your inner critic and your self-loathing and all that was telling you everything around you was confirming it. The fact that you were on medication, you were down, everything else, it was all confirming. And all of a sudden, you get someone coming in from the side that hasn't seen all that past and judges you from where you are now, i.e. your present, to where they think you can go. And that's incredibly enlightening, isn't it? Because they say that depression is thinking about the past, anxiety is worried about the future, and the only way you can have well-being is in the present. And they've come straight to your present. They haven't fannied around with your past or your future. They see you in the present and they look at you and see you how you are then. So it gives you almost a second chance. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, mate. I think you're absolutely right. And but even a lot of these, a lot of my friends, that I met, knew about my past and just loved me anyway. They didn't care. Like they're just like, they've got that attitude where the past doesn't define you at the end of the day, and that's an attitude that I unfortunately had for many, many years, and it's only now that I can say, actually, my past doesn't define me, and I am who I am now, and it's my, it's my present and my future. That's what matters, isn't it?
Well,
so,
you've got
Pardon?
You've got every chance now there's two ways now, isn't there? You can either say that it's been terrible and everything else and not take any learnings and try and help others, or you can bring that into your present, embrace it, use the skills, use everything else that you've learned, and I'll come on to something in a second which I'm really keen to find, as a way to then amalgamate it into your present and then take it forward to a positive future. Now look, we get a lot of people watching these that are maybe suffering from depression. We're in mean times at the moment. We're facing huge redundancies. We're in the middle of, for reference and context, we're in the middle of COVID-19 with the hangover that's going to ensue. People have been in relationships, people have been in breakdowns, people have been all throughout this period. And then they ask, well, what if my partner is suffering from depression, or if someone's suffering from depression, how is the best way for people to behave and act around them? What advice, knowing how low you were and how you got out of it, so to speak, whether that's permanently or temporary, but what advice would you give those people who are around people who are suffering from depression?
Gosh, wow. I think just like asking like if you're talking to, you know, a partner and whatever it is, and they're depressed, maybe, you know, just asking them, what do you want to do? You know, what do you want to do? Not what can I do to help you? You know, not what do you need? You know, just asking, you know, what do you want to do? You know, because yeah, I just think not putting pressure on, you know, people, you know, to necessarily do something. You know, like if you're, you know, deeply depressed, there's a lot of things you don't want to do. Um, I don't. It's hard to say, but I think, you know, if it's your partner, I just think definitely watching their, trying to help them with their diet and trying to help them to exercise, you know, is massively important. Um, yeah, I think I don't know. I think just being positive as well, you know, around that person, like trying to, you know, they say there's drains and there's radiators, drains and radiators. And it's like, you know, some people unfortunately drain your energy and some people kind of just radiate energy. And it's like, yeah, just try and, I think, be as positive as you can. And, you know, sometimes it will annoy them, but ultimately, you know, hopefully, you know, positivity is infectious, isn't it, at the end of the day? And, you know, so is negativity. So, you know, what would you prefer? I just think be as supportive as you can, you know, and, but yeah, I don't know. I think massive thing is diet and exercise. Like I think that those two things really do, you know, do work miracles. I honestly do believe that. But yeah, just be there, just support them and just love them unconditionally, you know.
And it's so nice. You, like, your words are coming out of your mouth. You're probably thinking, well, I don't know if this is helping everyone, but of course it is, because you've been there. And it's just, I suppose it's the fact that you can't rush it. You know, I think gone are the days where it's like, come on, get yourself up, sort yourself out. I mean, those words, those words are really alarming, even to say it in that way. Are there any wrongs? Are there any big wrongs that if someone had said to you at the time, do this, this, and this, come on, or a behavior trait that may have sent you back over the edge or down into the doldrums? Are there any no's?
You know, I do just want to recognise actually, like that, you know, when you know, people are depressed, and when, you know, when I was, you know, at my lowest, with depression, I didn't want to see anyone. Like I didn't want to talk to anyone. Like I just, you know, hid myself away. And um, so I think it's very hard, you know, it is very hard for an outside person to help someone who's, you know, clinically depressed or whatever. It really is. So I think, you know, just don't be too hard on yourself. You know, for, you know, people who, you know, if you know your loved one of your loved ones is, you know, depressed, and you know, it's that's terrible. But just don't be too hard on yourself that you're not able to, you know, bring them out of it. You know, and it's not, you know, it's not a lot. Unfortunately, there's not a huge amount you can do. And you know, like I say, you've just got to kind of love and support that person through it. And you know, it's a very kind of, you just isolate yourself, don't you? You just kind of lock yourself away. And you know, you know, so it's extremely hard to say. But what not? I'd say what not to do. Just, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. You know, I think that's massively important.
Thank you. This is going to be incredibly inspiring to people. You know, and the fact that you can't rush it. It's not down to your timescales. It's down to the person who's suffering timescales.
Yeah.
There is hope. Looking at you now, you know, there is hope that you will come out of it, even if that's the right term. People may relapse. People may have those events again. But it's very honest to hear that. You know, don't get offended by someone's isolation. Don't get offended that they're cancelling. Maybe be supportive. And I suppose keep talking, and the very important thing, to seek professional advice, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that's all good advice, man.
So do you think that there is enough awareness and education around mental health, even the term mental, in the term mental health, where people are meant to be coming forward and talking about it? Is there anything that you'd like to change? Is there anything that you wish you'd known, that had been aware of before all of this, so that when you were going through it wasn't so frightening? I mean, should this be taught at schools? Should mental health awareness, depression, anxiety, Should all of this be raised above the carpet, not swept under it?
I, yeah, I think, you know, there's so much more. Like we didn't get told about mental illness at school, you know, and it just wasn't spoken about, you know, and so I think that would be a massive starting point, wouldn't it? You know, just, you know, if 1 in 4 people in the UK, you know, depressed every week, you know, there's a high chance that, you know, and obviously in a school of 100, there's going to be 25 at least people who are going to, you know, be, you know, have depression. So why aren't we talking about it? You know, that's you know, in schools, that's a big starting point. Yeah, I think there's loads more that people can be doing. I think, you know, just talking about it and sharing your story, and sharing, you know, what helped you along the way. And, you know, I think, you know, eventually when every single person's talking about it, the stigma will be gone. And so that's what we've got to do, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I'd love to just share like how I found freedom from everything, if you don't mind. Just in case that will help.
I'd love, yeah, of course. That's exactly the point that we need to come to.
Of course. But no, like, yeah, I think sharing, you know, sharing what's helped us, you know, is massively important. So, you know, and for me, I came to, you know, I came to that point where I said, you know, I'm in bed and sleeping 18 hours a day, and I then heard a friend speaking about, you know, forgiveness, and just really got me thinking about the resentment that I was holding for my abuser, and just decided that I need to, you know, forgive him. And yeah, you know, I've been hating on this person for, you know, almost a decade, just resenting him and blaming him for, you know, everything that had gone wrong. You know, I'd been, you know, it just caused so much misery, and you know, I kind of realized that actually I need to let go of that. You know, I need to put it behind me, and so I decided to forgive him. You know, and it came from the heart. And I, you know, for me personally, I found massive freedom from that. I found complete freedom from addictions. So I'm 3 years in July. I haven't had a drink before.
That needs celebrating, to be honest, James. That needs celebrating. That's self-improvement, and that's down to you.
Thank you, Simon. Do you know what? It's amazing. I'm completely sober now. Yeah, 3 years in July, and I only realised about a week or two ago that it had been 3 years in July. You know, which is just testament to how, you know, it's just that's my lifestyle now. You know, for the first year I celebrated, and the second year I celebrated, and now it's just, you know, my life, and that's what it is. So, you know, but yeah, like, you know, I've managed to find freedom from addictions, and massive freedom from my mental health as well. And you know, I'm able to, you know, say wholeheartedly that now you know, the highs are much more frequent than the lows. You know, and I feel like I've, you know, really managed to heal, you know, from the trauma, and the pain, and I'm a massive advocate for forgiveness. You know, it's so powerful. And so yeah, what's that Nelson Mandela quote about forgiveness? He says, if I can find it, he says,
I wish I was clever enough to know.
He says, I think it says something like, resenting on someone is, I'm just trying to find it, is like drinking poison and hoping it's going to kill the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't actually find it, but that's pretty much what it is. Resentment, holding resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it's going to kill the other person. You know, I'm just like flipping it, man. It's so true. So like, I'm you know, massively encouraging if people can, and it's got to be when you're ready, of course. You know, to forgive people, and you know, if like, you know, it was only eating away inside of me. You know, hating on him. You know, it was eating away inside of me like cancer. It wasn't affecting him at all, was it? You know, it was controlling my life. So yeah, so that for me, a combination of, you know, forgiving my abuser and getting sober, and then finding healthy alternatives to the like healthy, almost healthy addictions. You know, like things like the gym and golf. You know, to just just to replace the, you know, the unhealthy ones. And
I love that. I love that about the poison. I did a recent interview with Grandmaster Sken, who was the best fighter in the world, trained by monks, and that was the point I was making. And they used to put a big rubbish bin, 2 rubbish bags on each, you know, full of everything that stunk, and told him to walk around. He never understood why until they told him that walking around with the smell and everything else is just like when you're angry about someone or holding resentment. You know, it's only you that suffers. You've got to let it go. And I think your thing about the poison, don't drink poison to hurt others, is so, so true. And I think your story will impact and encourage and help anyone who's either has ADHD or suffered childhood trauma. I mean, to be fair play, you've been through the ring, haven't you, with all this, from the drugs, from the addiction to the childhood trauma to prison to everything else. I mean, I mean, just thank you for sharing your story. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. And forgiveness and letting go, you would say, is probably one of the main thing that's. And also, when you've been off the drugs and the drink, does that help your mental health?
Oh, yeah, 100%, mate. You know, I couldn't have ever processed and got to a stage where actually I want to, you know, forgive him if I was just drinking and abusing drugs. Like, it's all massively important. They're all, you know, massive foundations on which I'm now building my life. You know.
And what's the enlightenment? Say if we forgot everything else and it was just drink and drugs, or drink or drugs. What does it help giving them up? How does it physically, how do you feel?
It gives you your life back at the end of the day, doesn't it? You know, because, you know, you might go out and have 10 pints with the lads, and then the next morning, you know, you wake up maybe at like 2 in the afternoon with banging headache, and, you know, you're feeling sick or whatever. And you've just lost if you wake up at 2 o'clock, you've lost, like, you know, a long time. You know, my MS isn't quick enough, but I get up at like 6, so you've lost like 8 hours of the day. You know, and you know, God knows what you've been doing whilst you're out and drunk and, you know, completely probably blacked out or whatever it is. I just think, you know, you get your life back. You know.
So do you feel like you're in a rush now to sort of? Do you feel like you've in your head wasted that time? So are you in a rush now to get yourself? Are you on fast forward now a bit?
Yeah, I've wasted I wasted, like, you know, almost a decade of my life, you know, and that was another thing. You know, I used to blame my abuser for that. You know, blame him, and it's like, no, actually, you know what, I've got to take control of this. You know, it's happened. You know, it is what it is, and it's out of my control. And actually, stop blaming him and just get up, and, you know, I've got to do something about it. So yeah, I'm now studying. I'm a year and a half for a university. Something which I probably should have done like 7 years ago. But, you know, I'm doing that, and, you know, I'm doing that full time. But part of me, you know, the only part of the reason I'm doing it is to kind of prove people wrong. You know, my yacht worker who told me, you know, you'll be dead by the time you're 21, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. You know, the teachers that said to me, you know, you'll never go to a university. But also just to inspire people, bro. You know, like, there's so many people that, you know, maybe are in prison or getting out of prison or battling with their mental health, and they think, oh, I could never go to university or whatever it is. And just to inspire people, bro, and say, look, you can do whatever you want. You know, like, your past, it doesn't matter. Like, where you are now is what matters, and you can do whatever you want. You know, the world is open to you. You know, so yeah, I just want to hopefully be able to inspire people, and getting a degree as well is pretty cool. I think, you know, I used to think it was a bit geeky, but now I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool actually. You know, I can do that. I can rock that. You know.
Do you know what? There's a lot that's cool about you, James. I don't feel bad about admitting it. You're a very cool guy, and you're inspiring others now. Despite where you were and what you did, you openly regret, but you want to use that to inform others. I hear that you're going around some pretty big logos at the moment, inspiring companies as well. Would that be correct to say? So you are open for business if someone wants to perhaps ask you to tell their employees or inspire senior leaders or everyone within the organization that, hang on, you are where you are now. Is it, let's start from now and let's see how, is that your story now and your aim to inspire?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to share my story anywhere, you know, anywhere anyone wants me to. If it's gonna, like I always say, you know, like I think we spoke about it before, like, you know, if I can use, you know, my darkness from yesterday to make someone else's tomorrow brighter, then happy days, mate. You know, at the end of the day, and yeah, I just want to inspire hope into people, you know, who have lost hope or losing hope. Whether it be for themselves or for someone else that they love, you know, and just, you know, show people that actually it's never too late to change, you know, because there's a huge, you know, there's the stigma around mental health, but then there's a huge stigma around, you know, people with a criminal record as well, you know. People don't want to take them on, you know, people don't want to partner up with them, you know, in a business or whatever it is, and it's like, that's just, you know, that's horrible as well, bro. You know, that's not good. And I'm just trying to show people that actually, you know, I may have made mistakes, and, you know, people may have made mistakes in the past, but actually, you know, I admit what I've done, and, you know, I don't like what I've done. I've done my time, and, you know, I'm now trying to do good things in the world, you know, trying to change the world from the bottom up. So I'm more than happy to share my story anywhere anyone thinks it will help.
And how old are you now, James?
I'm 26 now, 26.
Right, just so that people can do the maths from how long it started after you went through, and then how long you've been doing this. No, I'm proud of your recovery, and I can vouch for everyone that I know it's authentic, because we've been linked in for quite a while, and we've had a few discussions, and you know, you're incredibly positive and would inspire many. One of the questions that I want to ask you is, knowing now what you have been through, if you had 5 minutes with your abuser, what would you say to him now?
Probably like, you know, you probably know, you know, you tried to bury me, but bro, I'm a seed, you know, I'm gonna grow. You know, you can't hold me down. No, seriously, I don't know, mate. I've seek help. Seek help.
So you're almost, you know, empathetic. You really have forgiven, haven't you? And you've made that decision to yourself. You've let go. Would that be correct?
I wish him all the best, mate. Like, I really hope that he's changed his, you know, way of life, and that he's found happiness in something healthy and non-destructive. You know, I've moved on, bro. You know, at the end of the day, and yeah, I've never really thought about it. What would I say to him? Yeah, I've moved on from that, man. You know, and I hope he has too.
Not like me to ask questions, hey. I'm just really interested now, knowing everything that you've been through: drugs, drink, all the other vices, prison, abuse. I feel you're well placed to answer this. If I could ask you from a point of wellity, what is your definition of well-being?
Bro, I think you hit the nail on the head. Sorry to just like throw it straight back, but like you said, depression is, you know, kind of being in the past, anxiety is being in the future. And, you know, I think well-being, you know, is now. You know, how am I right now? And yeah, like mindfulness and being just like realizing what you can, what's in your control and what's not, and just kind of working with what you can control and not wasting energy on, you know, what's out of your control, and just living in the present, I guess, day by day. And just, it's, you know, shit is gonna happen, bro. Excuse my language, but like, shit happens, like, and it will happen to all of us. And I guess it's just about, you know, just trying to deal with that as best you can, and just kind of accepting it, you know, as a part of life, you know. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
No, it's about bounce back as well, isn't it? Sometimes you can't control what's happened, but you can control where you're going. And it's that old Rocky phrase. Rocky's a great inspiration for me when I was younger. About, it doesn't matter how many times you've been knocked down, it's about how you can get up and keep moving forward. Look, James, you're incredibly inspiring. Where can people find you, please?
You can j.crystal at Instagram, or you can find my company Everse, EEVERSE Everse UK, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, our mission is to help destigmatize mental health, reduce the UK statistics, and just help people like share their stories, you know. And I think, I think there's real power in storytelling and opening up about our own journeys. And I've shared my stories, so much, and so many people have said, thanks for that. Actually, it's really given me the courage to talk about my own mental health, and I just thought, wow, I want to encourage more and more people to do this. So yeah, check us out, or everse.co.uk, and just help what we're trying to do.
And Everse is about selling stuff in order to, and some good stuff, by the way, in order to raise money so that you can go around and hold events. Is that
yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. So we're selling the t-shirts. They've all got kind of graphics on around mental health. And then this one's about breaking the chain of stigma,
Yeah.
breaking the chains of negativity. And then we give a percentage of the profits to a CIC that I set up, which is putting on charity events to raise money for charities and educate people on different ways to improve their mental well-being.
Good. Well, there was no way this interview was going to end without giving that a massive plug, because it's huge what you were doing. So that's Everse. Is that correct? Yeah.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Look, Wellity is about normalizing the conversation around mental health in a bid to ensure that everyone can be the best version of themselves, to show up and deliver and do themselves credit. James, you've been massively inspirational in terms of spreading this message and giving some great advice in order to help people who are facing down times. And so we salute you, and we will be putting you on our platform so that others can find you, can find Eva, can book you in order to inspire other people, so that then the knock-on effect and the chain goes on. Well-being is something that not one person can solve themselves. It's going to be a collaborative joining of parties. So for that, I thank you. Before we wrap this interview out, I'd just like to ask you if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Mainly just this: love overcomes hate. Love overcomes hate every single time. And I think my story is testament to that. And I just think, it's love that's changing the world. Hate is destructive, and yeah, just choose love every time.
Brilliant. Well, look, we're very glad to have you on the platform. We look forward to putting this live, and I very much look forward to keeping in contact with you personally, to sharing each other's journeys as we continue this.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Simon. I love what you're doing with Wellity. You're a legend, mate. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, and we'll catch up soon.
See you, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, James. Bye.